Okay, so this is a Triang R357 which I bought recently from eBay. We're losing focus there. Spares repair. Haven't opened it up yet. Quick observation underneath. You can see there that it has these pickups, but one of the wheels is in back to front, and were that to be sat on the track that way, assuming the pickups are working, it would probably create a short. In fact, it would create a short. But off the track, it's not going to cause any damage, I wouldn't have thought. So if we put a PP3 on, we're getting nothing, so we'll not do that in case there's a short of some sort in there. So the best thing to do, I think, now is probably to go through what is a very simple task of getting the cover off. Oh, maybe it's not that simple. I can't get the screwdriver to engage. There we go. Screws out. Lids off. And this the other way around. To get the power bogie out, it's just a matter of taking this clip out and freeing off the cables here. These connect the trailing bogie with the power bogie. For whatever reason, Triang didn't use a connector, so they're actually just soldered here to the the unit itself. So okay, right, the first issue I would identify is, I don't know why it's not focusing, it's basically seized. Looking at it though, what you have here is brass on driving plastic, and so you often notice with models that have been run a lot, the plastic begins to dip to take up the shape of the worm. This model has not dipped at all, suggesting it's not really been used that much. The body itself is in pretty good order. The transfers are largely intact. It's very similar to one I worked on recently, except the one I worked on recently, the handrails were actually separate fittings, which must have been probably the very last of this iteration of model. This one is probably the second last, as those handrails are part of the moulding. If I can get it to run again, I'll pick out the handrails using a silver Sharpie, which is a pretty effective way of bringing them back to how they would have been when it came out of the factory. Okay, but it's seized. So I think probably the best thing to do now would be to just bite the bullet and remove the interconnectors, otherwise everything's just going to get in the way and get fangled up with the body. So it's as well to remake the connections anyway, and I may as well make them. I may make them with a connector, so I'm just going to cut them just now, save getting a soldering iron out, and we can set the body aside. So probably the most sensible thing to do now is to remove this screw, which mates with a brass nut on the other side of the upper housing. You can see the nut is out, and then we just want to encourage the screw to come out. It didn't take much encouragement, it's out. And so these contacts now come off. They're not showing an awful lot of sign of wear. I don't know how close I can get that to the camera. Probably not terribly. There's a lot left on the brushes, again indicating, oops, there's one just decided to go west, indicating that there's not been an awful lot of running being done here. So okay, we have the brushes out, and yeah, it seems to be fouling actually with the casing, which seems unlikely, but nevertheless possible. I think we'll just take a look in here and see what's been going on. Another common thing that can happen with these is these plastic underplates sometimes split where someone has put these screws in, perhaps a little too vigorously, but this one seems to be okay. Screws curiously quite stiff. Okay, so we're in about it now. You can see here these magnets are to provide magnetization, which of course is probably not much use to many of us now because we don't have steel track. Nevertheless, I'll leave them in case I do get it going and sell it and someone is running it on older track. So yeah, okay, I think I want to get the armature out of there. Magnets come with that one. Okay. Well, it's all or nothing now, isn't it? Okay. Right, okay, it's a bit curious. These the nylon pieces, I'll try and get focus again, are moving quite freely on there. I wonder if one of the worms has possibly shifted or been shifted, and it's actually jamming when it's in the chassis. So what we could do is put that back in there and just prove if that's the case. Okay, well they're now in position and the armature's turning freely. And there is a very little amount of play, very little, but should probably have been enough. Okay. Right, well probably the better thing to do is reassemble and see if tear it to bits and putting it back together again in true para-handy fashion is going to sort this. Oh, I see what the problem is. Right. Here's the problem. We're going to have to draw one of the worms. The issue is that on magnets are going bananas here. On this one here there is a lug to set the height of the bearing. On this one the lug is no more. There's no lug on that. So that is the problem. So the only way to fix that is to locate a part. I'm pretty sure I've got an old armature and I'm hoping that it's got the part on it that is not broken. So I'm going to take a short break here because I'm going to need to find something. Okay, so I have found this which was marked usefully. So I'm hoping in here, in amongst all the bits and pieces, yes, we have an armature and it's got both lugs. So as this armature's probably dead, let me see if I can find a worse one. No, that doesn't count because that doesn't have lugs in it at all. That must be from something else. That one looks really pretty scabby, so I think what we'll do is we'll use that one and we can experiment on this one to see how we pull off the worm. Now, set that aside. Okay, so we have got donor armature and receiving armature. And over here, we've got this. You're not going to see much of that lid there, are you? There you go. There's a whole lot of XO4 stuff in here, including some neodymium magnets and this little device, which is a worm puller for an XO4 motor. I don't understand why we're not in focus. Anyway, righty-ho. So, is this going to work? Nah, wrong glasses. No head touch. Remedied. Right, let's get this going. Okay, so we now have contact. It's quite difficult getting it on the shaft because it isn't recessed at all. Unfortunately, it's not recessed at either end. I also don't really know if the puller is the right diameter. I could probably check that with a micrometer. It's just distorted. Right, let's just see with a micrometer what size is that shaft. 2.3, 2.4 millimeters. That's only 1.9. That should be all right. That's it. You just hear that crack as it released. Okay, so this is the part. Gunk of some sort on it. That's the bit that we want. That bit there, right. Okay, I think what we'll do is give that a wee bit of a clean. So somehow, some way, I need to do the same thing with this. Okay, so what I've found is, as I'm going to be sacrificing this part anyway, using this to center in the puller made the job, easy's not a term I could apply to this, less difficult, and I think now we have yes, okay. Alright, so we can now take this part, pop it on there, and simply push the worm back on. I think that's possibly going to need to be done in the jaws of a vise. Okay, I've changed the method here and now recording with the iPhone rather than the Mac. That seems to be better focused. So with a bit of luck, as I wind this in, this worm is going along that shaft. This one's not moving because the shaft and the end of the worm are coincident. And the trick here is to get this in so that that's aligned with the end of the shaft, but not too much, otherwise I'll bend the shaft. So I think we'll just take a quick peek and see. It's very nearly there and probably would suffice, but we'll just give it a touch more. Very, very close. That will do me. Right, so we've now got it assembled the right way around with this thing here, and it runs. In both directions, so I think the position now is that you should give it some lubrication. I could probably do with much the same. Right, let's just get some. There's even an awful lot coming out this oiler. Right, let's get some grease in here as well. Protect myself from the splash. Okay. Probably time just to stick it on the track now. I don't think we need rolling road for this, so it appears to be as rough as a badger's. The rolling road suggests the pickups are maybe a problem. Right, I think we'll get the pickups and the wheels cleaned up a bit. A bit of contact cleaner. You hear it speeding up as the dirt's removed. The wheels are marginally out of balance. I don't think there's much we can do with that with the nylon axles. Okay, I think we would return it to the track. So I've now got the trailing bogie with the pickups all cleaned up and the wheel put in the right way round. To make servicing easier, I've introduced a connector between the trailing bogie and the power bogie, and it's keyed in such a way that it doesn't matter which way you put the connector in, it'll be coupled up the right way round. Soldered and heat shrunk. The locomotive has now had its windows cleaned on the inside using contact cleaner, which makes quite a difference to the look of it. Looking pretty good. Just a test to make sure that the trailing bogie pickups are effective, as the main bogie is now lifted clear of the track, courtesy of the pencil.